Alright, so I got a question on a video. How do you root a cutting that you take? And that's a good question. There's different ways of doing it. You can use the soil recipe that I put on the blog. A lot of people will put it in dry soil until it seems ready to water, like that soil there. Lots of minerals, no mulchy stuff ideally, because that can invite fungus, especially if you're keeping it indoors to root. I like to use an empty pot. This is a pretty freshly cut one, and you don't want to put freshly cut cacti within like even a couple of weeks on top of soil if there's going to be any humidity whatsoever, or they can start to rot. But an empty terracotta pot works really nicely because it'll just fit right in there. It's not going to tip over. It won't get too moist as long as you don't water the pot. Name tag. You can leave this in indirect sunlight. You can leave it somewhere like here, underneath this bench, for example. Or you can put it on a sunny windowsill. I like to put them in shaded areas because any amount of sunlight is going to cause, chloroblasts, which are the stem cells that plants create, to form inside the plant, which is going to cause it to grow. It's going to be weak growth since there's no root system to pull up water and nutrients to feed it, and that's going to be working against the rooting process. If you put it in a mostly shaded spot, it will get a nice coloration as it sits there, and it will begin to root, and you can get it in there a lot quicker with an empty pot. Especially if it's hot out, it'll root typically a lot faster for it. With the dry soil method, it takes quite some time. You have to wait 2 weeks at least for the cutting to callus so that it doesn't rot in there, and watering it takes a lot longer. If you get a little water in an empty terracotta pot, it's no big deal. If you get it in the soil and it sits there and the plant is on top of it, it can get kind of nasty. I apologize for the mess. This is a really nasty looking setup, but but in terms of my technique, I either put it here or I put it on the windowsill just in an empty terracotta pot where it's going to get ample heat but not too much light. In addition to the limitations in growth and taking away from the rooting, it's a lot more likely to burn when it's creating a lot less chlorophyll. So this is my method. Leave it there, pretty much forget about it, go about your life, come back at some point, check the bottom, and it will almost certainly be rooted. This is another way I do it, and this is when I run out of space and things, but the drawbacks are self-evident. See that sunburn that this has gotten while it sat there? It's just cosmetic. It's not a big deal. But, the empty pot method is definitely the best one I've discovered, not to mention critters can eat your plants if you put them in the ground or in dirt, anywhere where they're exposed to them. An empty terracotta pot mitigates that risk, and I've never had any negative issues doing it. It's been, for me, the best way I've discovered, which I don't know that anyone else does it. I've heard people do pure perlite and all sorts of crap. I don't do that. I just do the empty pot, and it works out nicely. I hope this helps.